Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We brought Dr. Joseph McGinley back on the show. He is the founder and CEO of McGinley Orthopedic Innovations. And for those of you who didn't catch maybe the previous episodes, myself and Dr. McGinley did, we've been working on this book, and I'm proud to announce that the book is finally live and out there. And first off, Dr. McGinley, just want to say welcome back to the show.
Adam, it's great to be back on again. It seems like it's been forever, but really not that long ago, we had our first conversation. So excited to join the show again today and discuss Volume 8 and see where we're at with our updates.
All right. So some other big news that's taken place. And I think we might even be ahead of the press release on this one, but just started working with Vizient, which is one of the nation's largest member-driven healthcare improvement companies. Did I get that right? I want to make sure I have it right. Vizient?
Yeah, Vizient. That's exactly right. We just signed an innovative technology contract just last week. So the press release will be going out this week. We're really excited to partner with Vizient and all of its members. And what Vizient is essentially is a large group purchasing organization. So they negotiate contracts for hospitals to get them the best pricing on products. And then they work with companies to get the best and most innovative products to their member hospital and healthcare facilities. So we're excited. I mean, this is big news for us. It's great. And you're hearing it first right here, Adam, right on your show.
That's what I like to hear. And I have some follow-up questions on this because I think this is really big news and I want to talk about what that means. I know in some of our previous conversations we've had, when it talks about taking, a new product to market, what that means. And I know this is big news. So congrats on the news with Vizient, but we will backtrack a little bit and we'll start this episode the way that we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So Dr. Joseph, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. What mission matters to you?
Yeah, our mission is to develop innovative products in healthcare, specifically orthopedics, that protect patients, reduce costs, and innovate upon technologies that are already out there on the market. So this is a great platform, and we are happy to be here today.
All right. So let's start by maybe diving into your background a little bit. I don't want to assume that all of our new listeners and our new viewers caught maybe some of the previous work that we've done together. So maybe just talk a little bit more about your background and really what you're doing in innovation.
Yeah, again, a lot of my passion, a lot of what I'm doing as CEO of McGinley Orthopedics originates from my training in education and engineering. So I have a bachelor and master's degree in mechanical engineering. I then went on and did an MD, PhD. And I have a clinical practice still, an innovative sports medicine and interventional orthopedic practice. And when I'm seeing patients, when I'm developing products, I always try to apply engineering concepts and principles to create the best solution possible, individualized for each patient. On the product side, we want to take these ideas, we want to take these healthcare improvements and get them out there really to everyone. So that's my educational background. We'll get into this a little bit later, but some of my side activities, I do adventure racing, I climb mountains, I do mountaineering. I used to race motocross for many years, no broken bones. So my products wouldn't have been relevant during my racing career, but I try to stay active. I try to stay healthy. I try to stay athletic as well. It keeps me, on the front edge of innovation. It keeps me motivated and keeps me in tune with my patients that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, without further ado, let's dive into this book. So what you presented, 3 pillars of innovation, assembling your team, fully understanding the problem, engage others to be involved. What was a lot of things you could have written about? I mean, I know your background. What was the inspiration for this?
Yeah, I think with the entrepreneurs, when you have an idea, when you identify a problem and think you have a solution, it's very easy to get sort of affected by that excitement and that passion and say, this is going to be a blockbuster and I can do this all myself and it's going to happen overnight. But you still have to be meticulous. Yes, great ideas are wonderful. That's the starting point, but you can't do it yourself. You're not an expert in all these areas. And in this book chapter, we focus on, essentially what are the basic building blocks. And, the definition of each of these may vary from CEO to CEO and product, but in general, you want to make sure you have a solid team to help support your efforts. You're not an expert, no matter how smart you are, you're not an expert in everything, and making sure that you have that expertise to guide you. And then also to get feedback. Again, the constructive feedback is helpful. And then you have to clearly identify the problem, make sure it hasn't already been solved, make sure that you fully understand the nuances, the pros and cons of that problem. And then you want to engage others in that excitement, whether it's investors, whether it's your employees, whether it's board members, whether it's hospital facilities. You want them to feel that passion and get them involved to help be part of that solution.
Yeah. What is the team and assembling the team? Maybe you could give us a little bit of the thought process that went into what it took for you to build McGinley Orthopedic Innovations. Like, what did assembling the team mean in that scenario?
Yeah, well, I'm still assembling the team and I'm still learning on a daily basis. But the
starting point, we all.
Yeah, you never start. Once you feel like you've got it all figured out, that's probably a mistake at that point. You can always learn from others, learn from experience from others. But when I first started, my background was engineering, so the problem solving, the design part of it, I felt fairly comfortable with. I had my medical degree, so I was comfortable on the medical side and the medical problem. But what I was lacking, and it was fairly obvious, was a background in business. So first thing I did when on assembling a team was look to see who could advise me and help me develop a business plan, help develop that business strategy. For me, I ended up contracting with a third party, an individual named David Kaplan on the East Coast, was an instructor at Harvard. He helped me craft my idea, and I learned so much from those early conversations. But that was the first part of it. Adam Johnson, who's currently our vice president of engineering, he was a key component to get me started. He's the one that motivated me actually to form the company to begin with. And he came at the perspective of saying, hey, you have a good idea. You got to stick with it. You got to get this going. We can make this happen right here in Wyoming. And he really latched on to the passion of it. And we wouldn't be here today, without Adam's motivation and getting me going. Those are just two individuals. I mean, we have hundreds at this point that have helped me along the way, including our investors. I communicate with them routinely and lean on their expertise. So the team's always growing, the team's always changing, but making sure that you as a CEO, as an individual, identify your weak points and then getting the advice and direction that you need to make sure you're successful.
Yeah. I love the advice that you say, like we're all learning together. We're all still growing. When I think about the idea of assembling the team, like it just doesn't end. To me, it seems like, every bit of revenue, every problem, every solution, every new component, as you get bigger and bigger, like you find these holes. And when you're trying to plug them, or you're trying to, figure out how to build a better base and to go up further and to increase, market penetration for your idea, like every team member, they just matter. They matter more and more. So when I think about like where you're at, and I think about even what you're doing now with Vizient and all these other things, I'm excited to see how this continues to grow.
So am I, Adam. And even these type of conversations I'm learning from, communication, right? We're communicating with individuals that, I don't even know on the other end of this broadcast. Our conversations, you and I speaking, that's helpful. I learn from those conversations. So you can never have a bad opportunity to learn. Learning is constant. And anytime you get a chance to go to a meeting, to go to a community event, to just speak with others who have been successful, it's only going to help. It may reinforce what you're already doing. But, one of the key points is you don't know what you don't know. And the only way you figure that out is being around others who have been successful already.
Yeah. Let's go to the, the early days. And I do like using your company. It's kind of the case study for the discussion, because I think it just brings it down to ground level and makes it very tangible for people. So when we think about understanding the problem and what fully understanding the problem, you also wrote about that. What was maybe some of the problems or the things that you were trying to solve in the early days of the company?
Yeah, as we chatted about last time, our company is the stereotype for entrepreneur, right? So we had a napkin sketch. Our company started as a napkin sketch. Myself, Dr. Scott Goes and Scott Porter, our co-founders, we were at a dinner meeting, and we just were talking about a patient that had an adverse outcome. And in this particular case, is this young 16-year-old girl. She broke her wrist, ended up getting a plate put on her wrist to fix that fracture. And one of the screws was too long. And that may seem like, okay, well, what does that really relate to? But that long screw ended up, every time she moved her finger, the tendon was rubbing on that screw. She ended up tearing her tendon and had to go back in for a repeat surgery. So that was the start of it. And then we said, okay, how did that problem occur? That's a risk of a surgery, but why did it occur? How can we fix it? So then we dove into the problem in detail to try to understand the nuances, look at what other people have done in the past. And what we sketched on a napkin that night is still the basis of our technology today. And we ended up getting a patent. I mean, we're up to 127 patents at this point, but that was the start of it. And it was that excitement, that passion and analysis of the problem. obviously we dug deeper from there, but we tried to vet as much as we could in that conversation, sketching out that initial concept.
Yeah. Talk to me about the digging deeper part of things. Because I feel like, when you first saw the problem, that was kind of the surface level of, and obviously everybody that was, working on this there, they understood it from the standpoint of backgrounds and otherwise. But I feel like that's still like it sounds like a good idea stage. Like, did you know immediately? And maybe I'm asking you, did you know immediately at that point, like, oh, okay, this has legs, like we can do this, or was it more so in that like digging deeper phase?
Yeah, the due diligence and validation part, that's not the fun part. That's the part that matters, though. The dinner conversation one where you're sketching it out, that's the excitement. Because, as with all of us, we're like, this is the best idea ever. This is going to work.
Has anybody done it, right?
Yeah. But then, after that, once you say, okay, I think we have a good idea, that's really where the work comes in. Because now you have to try to put that bias aside. You have to put that passion aside a little bit, and then take a critical approach to it. So what we did at first was just did a patent search and looked to see if there are any other patents out there. We did, just a basic internet search to see if there are any other companies that had products like this out there. So that's easy. That doesn't take long to do, but that's critical because you don't want to spend a lot of time or money and then find out 6 months later that this similar product has been developed, 10 years ago. So that diligence is important. It's to make sure that you have a self-checklist, that you're putting that personal excitement aside and saying, okay, is this a real thing? Is this the real deal? And then from there, you want to survey the market. So you might think it's great and your colleagues might think it's great, but again, you have bias. So you want to put a simple survey together and then just survey some of the potential users of the product and say, what do you think about this? Is this a good idea? You want to have protections in place. You don't want to disclose the whole thing unless you have a patent pending. But again, you want to survey that market and make sure this idea has legs as well. That's where the work comes into it. Again, all joking aside, that really makes the difference of you not wasting your time and money and making sure that you have the right idea before you move forward.
Yeah. When you were going through that process, did anything surprise you? Like when you were kind of looking under rocks, seeing what's out there, seeing what's, possible and doing the due diligence side, was there anything that did any aha moments or did anything surprise you in that process?
I mean, honestly, what surprised us the most is that no one had thought of this before because, once it seemed like a simple idea. And sometimes the simple ideas are the ones that are the most effective. And, even since then, we've had a couple individuals that have invested in our companies. And before they invested, they said, do you mind, my friend's a patent attorney, do you mind if he takes a look at this? Because they're thinking the same thing. This sounds too good to be true. And, in one of the cases, the patent attorney actually invested in our company as well. And he called me and said, I can't believe no one else had thought of this or patented it. He said, I was sure I was going to find some other IP out there, but that's not the case. I think that probably still to this day is the most surprising thing, because when you talk about the problem, it just makes sense and it's fairly obvious. But again, sometimes when things are that much in front of our face, we don't actually recognize the problem.
Mm. And that's so interesting to me because it lets people know that are out there that are like, if you had that idea and you were thinking to yourself, somebody else has probably already thought about it, or, oh, there's already a patent. I'm not saying you're going to win every time, but sometimes you go down the rabbit hole and nobody else actually had thought of it, right? This is an example.
That's correct. And it doesn't take much time or effort to check, right? I mean, just in a few hours, you can do a search on the internet and search the patent office. So you can get a pretty quick yes or no answer in a general sense, within just a few hours of your own personal time.
Yeah. So engaging others to be involved, another topic that you wrote about. And I feel like there's just so many, ways and angles to handle that question, whether it be internally from your teams, whether it be, externally, and what you're doing in the investment side by bringing a, Wall Street quality level of investment to Main Street so that, everyday people can also invest in the idea and in the IP. Talk to me a little bit more about what it means to engage and pull in others.
Yeah, that's a wide topic range. Engaging others is really can go on multiple levels, but you want to make sure that you can communicate and share that excitement, share that passion. The more people that care, the more people that say, yes, it's a good idea, this can make a difference, the more successful you're going to be. And you don't have to do it on your own. We started with our team members, with our consultants, and then, we moved on to getting employees and making sure that they're engaged in the process. Consultant surgeons, again, as physicians, we're trained to take care of patients and make a difference in their lives. We can only typically do that one at a time as we see them or do procedures on them. But with ideas like this, where, they can be globalized, you can take care of tens of thousands of patients in a single day with a single idea. So that really resonates a lot with physicians and healthcare facilities and other individuals involved in healthcare. But to take that further, again, we've shown our innovation in products with all of our patents and technology development. We're taking that a step further. We're taking that engagement. We got to the point where we had FDA cleared products. We needed to ramp up. We needed to get this out there to penetrate the market. Options are limited at that point. Traditionally, what you would do is go to private equity or investment bankers, and that's where you would secure your funding. There's trade-offs with that, typically management control, large portions of the company you'd have to give up, and it may change the personality of the company. But more recently, as some of your viewers may be aware, in the Jobs Act, about 8-10 years, they made some changes of how you can recruit investment. And one of those is called Regulation A+. And with Regulation A+, we can now take these ideas. We're still a privately held company, but we can publicly solicit and publicly raise funds. You can be an accredited, non-accredited investor. Right now, our minimum investment is just $100 to buy shares that, we're SEC registered. These are actual shares in the company. But for us, we see these individuals as team members. That's part of that engagement. These individuals are not only investing, but then they become part of that solution. They become part of our team, and then they can spread the word on what we're doing and why it's important.
Yeah, and we'll circle back to the investment side of things because I have some questions on that. But I want to stick on the point of kind of like the team a little bit longer and just internally and how you're keeping everyone engaged. Because I find it's interesting as now you mentioned, over 100 patents, and as the company grows, as the vision grows, how do you find you keep the team aligned and kind of heading in the right in the same direction and in the right direction, even though as the company gets bigger, as the complexity gets bigger, as over time products will change, things will change, right? How do you keep everybody moving in the same direction?
Yeah, I think just keep relating back to that message is to focus on patients, right? So we're a company that's focused on patient safety, patient care, and creating products to improve patients' lives. So just reminding people that your day-to-day work may seem mundane, or you may seem like what's the purpose of this? But when we have our team meetings, when we have our investor meetings, we remind everyone, and specifically with patient stories. I mean, you can't tell it better than a patient that had an adverse outcome. And, we have a patient testimonial on our website from a patient that, went through a traditional orthopedic surgery, and they placed a screw that was too long. They didn't realize it. She suffered for over a year, had to be out of work, everything else. Once we identified the problem, got that hardware fixed, she was back to her normal life literally within weeks. So, those type of stories are just so powerful. And, when we go down and meet, with our manufacturing team, again, they're making small parts for these products, and it might, you might sort of lose perspective on what you're doing. But I remind them, I said, this is common orthopedics. I said, any one of you could be on the other end of these products at any point in time. It could be a family member, it could be your mom, your sister, your kid. So just keep that in mind. If they were on that operating room table, what type of technology or products would you want that surgeon to be using to make sure that they had the best outcome for your loved one? So just creating that personal touch and making sure that people realize that this is not only a business, but really we're out there to focus on changing and helping patients improve their lives.
I want to spend some time on Vizient. So we did start the conversation talking a little bit about it, but I do want to go further. So nation's largest member-driven healthcare improvement company. To me, it means now that McGinley Orthopedic Innovations has access to a large platform, a lot of eyeballs, and access to more healthcare systems. Am I off on this? Tell me more.
Yeah, we're excited. Again, we're just getting started. Literally, this is breaking news for our company. And we're excited to partner with Vizient and be part of this innovative technology program. So what this does, Vizient essentially negotiates pricing on products and making sure that their members receive the best pricing on products. But not only that they have access to some of the best and latest technology that are best for their patients and patient care. So for us, once you're on that contract and you're working with these member facilities, they have that sense of security and that sense of, okay, this has already been vetted and it's been looked at, and Vizient has us now on contract. It's going to remove a lot of those administrative burdens that we'd previously discussed. So as a startup company, even if you have the best idea, best product in the world, you still have to navigate the system, and not everyone will share that passion or idea. And you have to work through that system to make sure that, number one, you're listed as a vendor, that the surgeon supports the product, that it goes through a value committee, that it offers a value, and that the pricing's correct for the hospital. Being part of Vizient with the IntelliSense drill, that will help us navigate that process a lot more smoothly, because again, the prices have already been negotiated, they're fixed, they're the lowest prices available. So the hospitals know that, and the hospitals are aware that these are the prices. So that helps us greatly. And then from an administrative standpoint, they can just order the product now. So it removes a lot of that burden that we used to have to fight for as a company to prove that this was a valuable product and that the pricing was correct. So we're excited. Hopefully, you and I will be chatting again in a few months, and I can relay the success story of this. But this is day one, essentially, as far as where we're at with it. And the potential is just incredible for us as a company.
Oh, that is exciting. I've been watching this story for a long time. So congrats. I know that wasn't easy. And I know that's just the next rung into getting this and getting really to the better patient care that you're aiming for. So I completely understand this.
So Adam, on that topic, again, just as a side note, as far as how things go, it took us a while to get on this contract and get that contract. Mm-hmm. We had to travel down and present our products at their technology meeting summit. It gets reviewed by committee members. And, just to show that things, even the simplest things aren't easy, myself and our VP of engineering were traveling down for this meeting. And there were mechanical issues on the flight that we were leaving from.
Come on.
We literally were struggling, like on the phone, trying to get different flights and connections so we wouldn't miss this meeting. So those are the little things, the details that you don't always see, but are important. But even air travel can throw a wrench in things. But ultimately, we got down there and got it presented and got on contract. But even that part of it's not straightforward.
Oh man, that's life. Why do we sign up for this entrepreneur side of it, right? Just random. That is the adventure. So you've been busy. You also, since we last spoken, AAOS instructional course textbook. So now what I find really interesting about your journey, and I've, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of innovators that I've followed throughout the years through not just this show, but just through in my career as well. And I noticed that, every rung or every time they hit a new level, and I don't mean just revenue or success. I mean new level of really just trying to give back and of being of value. And so what I find many times is as they hit new levels, then what happens is what they've been doing has been working or they've then been able to achieve certain things. So then they feel, and they don't have to do this, they feel the need to, and they want to help others along the way that are maybe have some of their same passion or some of their same dreams. So you recently published work, and as I mentioned, the AAOS instructional course textbook, and the subject matter was raising capital for orthopedic startups. Who better to ask than Dr. Joseph McGinley about that, who's done it himself, is doing it, in the middle of doing it, and is growing a big company from it. So what was the inspiration for this? Like what led you to want to, give back in this manner?
I mean, I love participating and giving back all the time. I mean, I have students, medical students, interns, fellows that'll come out and train with me. And I learn from them. Again, we talked about the team earlier. You learn from everyone. And my passion has always been education and helping others to improve what they're doing. For this one in particular, I was actually invited to present at AAOS last year, which is the largest orthopedic meeting worldwide. And what's interesting about that is my background is musculoskeletal radiology. I'm technically not an orthopedic surgeon. I do interventional orthopedics through a radiology perspective. So orthopedics and radiology are, not always easily mixed, like oil and water. So to be invited was an honor and a privilege to go to this meeting and to be able to present on how you fund an orthopedic startup company. So we did the presentation, and then our group was asked to put together a book chapter for the instructional course series for AAOS. So we worked on that. We've been working on it for the past year, and that was recently published a few weeks ago. And the topic was funding of orthopedic startup companies. The way we did it, maybe this is because, again, you don't know what you don't know. So I looked at it and said, what makes sense? Which, people, it seems simple, but that's not all. That question is not always asked. I said, what makes sense? Yeah. What's the best way to fund the company and how you do it? And that's how we did it. We didn't know if it was the right or wrong one. And so we learned as we went along. But for us, it worked out exceptionally well. And what we figured out in the end is how we did it is fairly unique and still unique, how we're raising funds. And lots of people are watching to see if we end up being successful. I mean, we're not it may seem like, we've had a lot of accomplishments, but we're not finished yet. We're still in the thick of things. So I think a lot of people, a lot of groups are watching to see if this model can be successful. And if we are that success story, it's exciting to be part, but yeah, you do have sleepless nights, as you mentioned. It's not always easy. So just another one of those things that help us move along and provide information back to others who might be motivated at an early stage.
Yeah. And one of the things I like is that, in my opinion, like, it's going to inspire others. Like, from one of our earliest conversations, I don't know if you remember, but I remember asking you a question and kind of like, leading into, there's many like highly skilled professions out there that, a lot of years of school, whether it's surgeon, lawyer, a lot of different, like, let's just say careers where you have a really specific path. And in my opinion, there's always this additional knowledge. And for some, there's an idea that they have or something else they want to do, but maybe they don't do it, or they can't do it, or they feel they can't do it because, right, they're a doctor and they shouldn't be doing this. That's for entrepreneurs, or that's for somebody else to do. So maybe this instruction, I hope those that, that consume it, this will inspire them and maybe give them just that little bit of additional confidence to say, maybe I can do this too, right? Like maybe my idea can go further. Let me try as well.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be more passionate than the individual with the idea. So, you have to have that appetite. You have to have that passion. Nothing's easy. Even the best idea in the world is not easy, but it's fun. It's if that's what you thrive on, doesn't matter what your background is. We can all be entrepreneurs. We can all be successful as long as you take that idea, make sure that you're dedicated to it, and make sure that you do diligence along the way. It may not always, well, actually, a lot of times it doesn't work out, but you still learn from those. And we talked about that even in the book chapter. Is failure is not always a bad thing. As long as you learn and improve from that, your next idea might be 10 times better once you learn from those mistakes, from those failures.
Circling back, I told you I would to the raising money part and what you're currently doing. Maybe talk to us a little bit more about the current raise and where you're at.
Yeah, this is exciting. Again, I'm learning. If we would have had this conversation, it's February, so about a little over a year ago, I would have no idea what a Regulation A+ investment was. I literally didn't know about it. And now, we're sort of leading the way and giving lectures on it at this point. So, it's just that point of saying, how can we do this better, and not accepting the status quo, right? So if we accepted the status quo, we'd still be using, whiskey for anesthesia in surgical cases, right? So you have to make sure that you're improving along the way. And this is just another one of those. When we looked at it as a company, we could have pursued venture capital and private equity, but that really didn't sit with the personality of our company and the passion of our company. So we thought there had to be a better way of doing this. There has to be other ways to do it. And, we came upon the Regulation A+ through one of the meetings that we attended, and we looked into it and we're like, wow, this is a great idea. This may work very well with our company. Now, we vetted it. Again, we didn't just say, hey, this is great, let's just go for it. We vetted it. We worked with partners along the way that helped guide us, those with expertise. And what this allowed us to do is take the message and take the investment opportunity from Wall Street, bring it to Main Street. And not only does that help us with investment, but then that helps us with marketing of our products. So our products are now out there and the awareness is greater because some of the investors are orthopedic surgeons, right? So they're users of the product. They're hospital administrators, they're attorneys who think this is a great idea as well. So you're getting that mix of marketing now, that when we market, we're not just marketing the investment, but we're marketing the product, we're marketing the message, and we're saying, hey, how do we get this out there on a larger scale? How do we communicate why the IntelliSense drill is so good? And if you were a patient, why would you want this? So it's just a wonderful opportunity. And for a company like ours, we were able to take advantage of it. We're still, we're like, 4 months into this investment round. It's going well, but we're learning along the way. We're correcting, we're adjusting, we're pivoting as needed, but it's definitely headed in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great story, and I'm excited to see it continue to unfold. I want to, so as we kind of wrap up, I want to make sure that the intel that I got is correct. So you're climbing Mount Everest. Is this true? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so I knew this question was coming for sure. But, as I mentioned earlier, I try to stay active and I try to push myself not only mentally, but physically. And I've been climbing 7 summits now for a few years. And it wasn't my intention to climb Everest and hit all these highest peaks. But this past June, I summited Denali, and we did it as a rapid ascent. So base camp to base camp in 7 days. Usually that's about 28 days. And what these mountains do is, it's going to sound funny, but it allows me to relax. The cell phones don't always work when you're up there. So you're just really dialed in and focused. And yet every footstep matters when you're on these mountains. So every hand placement, every footstep. So it teaches you to be mentally sharp, mentally diligent, even when you're up at 20,000 feet and there's not much oxygen and you're tired and you're hungry and you're cold. You can't lose focus. You got to really maintain that precision with every step, literally. So with Everest, after we were successful on Denali, I then thought, I'm like, well, this is a great time to do it. I'm in great shape. Start training. I have a good team that we're going to do. So we're going to actually try a rapid ascent, meaning 10 days or less from base camp to base camp Everest. So that technically, for me being an amateur, would be on the mountain. And I've been training for the past several months. So we can get into that for hours on the craziness of my training, but I'm looking forward to it. And I'm not going to make unnecessary mistakes. That's the other thing with this whole process is I'm not going to take unnecessary risks. If the weather's not right, if something doesn't feel right, I'm perfectly fine turning around and saying, there's always next year, there's always another day, because you don't want to get that mistake. Like we talked about at the beginning with the idea, you don't want to go from that dinner conversation and say, hey, I want to raise $1 million and get a product. You got to do that diligence, and that diligence is the hard work and being able to pivot along the way. So Everest keeps me sharp. It keeps me engaged, keeps me mentally in tune. And Adam, I got to tell you, after doing these mountains, if I'm in any type of board meeting or discussion or anything like that, I'm not going to get shaken at all. That's for sure, because I've been in a lot more situations. I can guarantee that.
Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of other ways to relax, like scaling Everest. Yeah, I want to relax. Let me scale Everest. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Oh man. Well, this is going to be fun. I can't wait to see some pictures. I can't wait to see some video footage. I'm sure that you'll be getting all kinds of, you'll be documenting the journey. So this is going to be fun for me to watch from afar and through email and through video. So thank you for your work on that one.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we'll have this on our social media sites and website and everything else for sure. A lot of people have been asking about that. I haven't posted yet just because I've been focusing on training, but as we get closer, we'll start talking about it a little more. And yeah, we'll absolutely engage individuals through our social media pages and website.
That's wonderful. Well, Dr. McGinley, I have to say it's been really an honor working on this most recent book release with you. And I know I learned a lot, as I always do, from working with you. So I'm sure our readers and viewers did as well. That being said, if somebody is watching this or listening to this and they want to follow your journey, they want to even, you mentioned being able to invest, things like that. Like how can people follow up and connect and really follow the journey?
Yeah, it's actually very easy, especially with this Regulation A round. So if you go to invest.mcginleyorthopedics.com, we pretty much do weekly webinars, so 1-hour webinars each week to talk about the investment opportunity. But if you go to that site, you can see all the surgeon videos, testimonials. You can see our SEC registration, our audited financials. Everything's there. And literally, if you want to invest, you click on Invest Now and you can pay with a credit card. And within days, you're an investor in the company. It's very much streamlined. If you go to our social media sites, our Facebook page at McGinley Orthopedics, we have a Twitter link as well. All that information is there. And, individuals can always reach out. We are very easily accessible. I see a lot of these communications personally. I like to see the questions. I like to see the commentary. So any listener wants to reach out, my personal email is mcginley@mcginleyinnovations.com. Just shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you're thinking about starting a company, if you're midway through and struggling with the day-to-day battles like we do. I'd be glad to chat with you about it. So, and if you're interested in investing as well, again, I can talk to you personally. So any of those avenues are there. I'm sure you'll share this with your viewers. But yeah, we're easily accessible, which is part of communication.
Yeah. Wonderful. And we'll put that information in the show notes so that our audience can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging with an episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, and really just what gets them fired up and motivated to go out there into the marketplace and make a difference. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Dr. McGinley, again, thanks again for coming back on the show. And until the next time we meet. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam. And I echo your comments on there. It's been great working with you. This is our second project with you. And anyone who's hesitant or has questions, I would encourage you to reach out to Adam. He's wonderful to chat with. And this platform has been incredible to work with. So it's been fun as always. I can't believe this. We're just about wrapping up. It just flies by, and I look forward to future conversations. Appreciate it.